A traveler leaves a trail, even one who walks between universes. Emsky is that traveler. Wherever he steps, the lattice blooms and collapses, and the world forgets the exact shape of the space his foot once occupied. But something remembers. In the dark of a vanishing footprint, a creature crouched, rib bones like lattice ribs, skin gone to negative space. When the light sank, it flowed into a hollow chest like a heartbeat of static. It rose with eyes that were twin spirals of reverse lightning and called itself VYSTRAL, the aftershadow. Emsky stepped into a pastel desert, a simple, calm world meant to be ignored. He felt the familiar closing whisper of the lattice, and then the air tore, like wet paper pulled apart. He said without surprise but with a sharpened edge, "That's not supposed to happen." From the tear came a silhouette, woven from the things he left behind. After images of motion, residue of warmth, a memory, smell of ozone. "Found you," it said, voice like rain on old metal. Long before Emsky became Prime, another life had been caught in the ascension storm. The burst that saved that world erased flesh, but left an imprint of being a ghost made of what a traveler sheds. Its consciousness clung to the residue between universes. Emsky rose. VYSTRAL became what was abandoned, footprints that sharpened into teeth, echoes that learned rhythm. Now, the aftershadow does not step through doors. It walks the empty shapes he leaves behind, reading the cadence of his breath, the tilt of his shoulders, the private grammar of his motion. The lattice forgets. VYSTRAL remembers. Wherever Emsky goes, the shadow will follow, louder than memory, more patient than night. A traveler leaves a trail. This time, the trail fights. VYSTRAL raises a hand. Where Emsky's lattice step creates bright bridges, VYSTRAL creates rips, jagged, ink-black tears that gape like missing sky. Anti-bridges. Where Emsky stabilizes universes by walking them into order, VYSTRAL destabilizes them simply by existing. Caption: the lattice step builds paths, the aftershadow devours them. VYSTRAL, where you bring freedom, I bring collapse. Emsky runs. He moves between realities with lightning speed, a trail of humming light stitching doorways into being. Every step leaves an echo, a fading footprint of possibility. Seconds later, that echo births something else, a shadow stepping out of the residue, unmaking what Emsky made. He dives through a lattice doorway, crystal frames trembling, stars funneling. Behind him, the echo thins and ink ruin pulses. VYSTRAL bursts from that vanishing mark. A cloak of void, edges serrated, particles of nothing spilling inward. Emsky vaults into a high-gravity ocean world. Waves stand like glass, and the sky feels heavy. He surfaces, lungs burning, and from the water, VYSTRAL rises, gravity reversed toward him, droplets climbing like iron filings. Emsky looks back, breath catching. He's not teleporting. He's following the residue. He's following me. Desperate, Emsky slips into a world of living stone giants, a slow, peaceful realm where granite colossi tend gardens of moss, and sunrise moves like ritual. Relief flares. Then a dark impression appears, the fading imprint of Emsky's passage, and VYSTRAL emerges. The giants bow as one. Stone giant, we bow to the one who carries the storm's shadow. Emsky freezes, terror settling cold. In some universes he is myth. In others, VYSTRAL is prophecy. The aftershadow lengthens. The lattice trembles. In the core of a zero-gravity nebula, Emsky and VYSTRAL spiral in a ballet of ruin. Lattice lightning forks from Emsky's veins, crystalline and humming. Shadow fractures shiver from VYSTRAL like knives. A sound shudders, E letters, bleeding into black ink and falling away. VYSTRAL's voice is cold. You travel, you help, you heal, but you don't erase your damage, Emsky. He fires an anti-lattice beam that eats the pathways Emsky needs. Lines sputter. Emsky's steps stutter. My steps. I can't. He chokes as teleportation collapses. The nebula ruptures into an unknown universe. Emsky crashes onto cracked, barren earth. No lattice sparks answer. A shadow looms. VYSTRAL crouches, grips his chin and whispers, "You walk between worlds. I walk behind you. I am the consequence you never faced." He rises. And now, you can't leave. For the first time since his ascension, Emsky dreams without light. He lies on bronze earth beneath a sky that has forgotten stars. No lattice glow. Nothing answers him. He reaches in that dream, and his fingers pass through a fading lattice step. It dissolves like breath in winter. He whispers, "It's gone." He wakes with a single, sharp gasp. Air tastes like cold iron. He tries to call the lattice just a spark, a step. His fingers twitch. A faint flicker trembles and dies. The absence is not loud. It is a silence that carries weight. Gravity lands on him like an old debt. He folds to his knees and learns the heft of bone. Once, the lattice made him everywhere and nowhere at once. Teleportation taught him to avoid effort. Now effort answers him back. He walks a barren universe of rust and wind. Massive metallic storms tear the horizon into ribbons. The wind screams like machines. He dives behind a ruined, rusted stone and feels how slow and human his reactions have become. A cut on his arm blooms hot. He winces. "I forgot," he says. "I forgot pain." He chooses to relearn the world by contact. He listens to the iron winds, hearing their pulse as if it were a heartbeat. He trains with the patience of someone rebuilding a lost limb. He climbs jagged cliffs with raw, aching hands. He hammers scrap into makeshift blades. He practices strikes and holds, relearning momentum, timing, and fall. Each failure is a lesson written on skin. Weight becomes his teacher. The lattice is not his crutch anymore. Absence is his forge. Grounded, unglowing, fully himself, he accepts the slow, honest work of becoming human again. The earth tore open beneath him. A six-legged obsidian colossus erupted, turbine lungs wheezing steam and thunder. Emsky couldn't step away. His teleportation failed like a severed rope. It charged. He ducked under a claw, feeling wind like a hurricane brush his hair. He slid between hot, armored legs, metal grinding, every nerve alight. He drove a scavenged spear into its underbelly until it shuddered. He stood there breathless, sweat and dust on his face, hands trembling. He had fought, not as a lattice, not as an avatar, as a body that could break. He wasn't phased, power stripped. Memory burned back. A scrap metal shard spun in a gust, catching an unfinished reflection. He saw himself dirty, bruised, exhausted, alive. Whispering to the shard, he said, "Maybe this is who I was supposed to remember." In that quiet identity felt heavier than lightning. The iron winds carved patterns into the dust, swirling fractals like broken lattices. He traced them. The dust hummed under his fingertip, a distant pulse. He realized a shadow trailed him. VYSTRAL's geometry, still hunting, even where bridges could not form. Then the storm blew apart. From its rent center, VYSTRAL stepped through, edges flickering, lightning leaking from cracked eyes. He smiled with a patience that was all promise and threat. "You learned to fight on your feet, Emsky. Good." He opened a tear in reality and let it snap shut. "We fight without tricks." Emsky rose, scars faintly glowing, heart steady. He gripped a makeshift spear. No teleportation, no borrowed storms, only resolve. The universe held its breath. Across a bronze horizon, the iron winds scream. Two figures face each other like ruined monuments. VYSTRAL, a storm stitched into flesh, and Emsky, a man of scars and stubborn bone, both diminished, both dangerously alive. No lattice, no escape, no higher ground. Only two broken gods and one dead universe. VYSTRAL flickers, his form glitching like torn static. Emsky tightens his grip on a makeshift spear, jaw set, breath measured. Then VYSTRAL moves faster, sharper, a ragged strike from a fractured god. Emsky meets it with the butt of his spear. Metal sings and the blow crawls through old bones. A smirk from VYSTRAL, lightning lacing his teeth. "You've been fighting storms. I've been becoming one." He sweeps with an ugly arc and sends Emsky crashing into rusted stone. Dust eats the air. Emsky spits blood, wipes his lip. "Good. I needed a warm-up." No teleportation, just raw speed, muscle, and grit. He charges. Flesh meets unstable energy. Their fists collide, and sparks scatter. A shockwave tears through wind and ruin. They hit like gods, but fall like men. VYSTRAL convulses with glitches, uncontrolled bursts of teleportation. He splinters across space and appears behind Emsky, driving an elbow into his spine. Pain blooms. Emsky collapses, gasping. VYSTRAL stands over him. "You're outmatched, Emsky." Without the lattice, you're nothing. Emsky rolls aside as a glitch punch shatters the ground, and then he drives his spear into VYSTRAL's shoulder. Lightning sputters from the wound. VYSTRAL screams. Emsky leans close, voice low and certain. I'm not nothing. I'm me. The iron winds die. A strange, unnatural hush sweeps the barren world. Dust hangs like frozen ash. Even VYSTRAL hesitates, hand mid-gesture, hearing nothing but the pulse of silence. Then above them a bright white silhouette appears, a single flicker that fractures, splitting into 2, then 4, then a blossoming chorus of light. Millions of glowing outlines bloom across the sky, hovering like a new constellation. VYSTRAL exhales, voice thin. What? The silhouettes ripple until one figure falls through the hush and lands between them. A young woman, composed and fierce, flickering between shadow and radiance, sometimes whole, sometimes a comet streak of brilliance. She blinks, a small smile in the quiet. Hi. Sorry I'm late. Behind her, an army of copies shimmers to life, some incandescent, some translucent, some poised like sentinels stretching to the horizon. Emsky blinks, stunned. Who? She answers. Call me Super A. I'm here to even the odds. The battlefield convulses as Super A splits into a furious wave of copies, rushing VYSTRAL from every jagged angle. They flow like white fire, a storm of identical faces and impossible motion. VYSTRAL meets them with a slash, glitches, and ripples that catch only hollow echoes. Illusions, invisibles, blinding lights. His strikes pass through what is not there. A white supernova blooms where Super A stands. Light fractures the air into 1,000 sharp edges. VYSTRAL reels, vision shredded by brilliance. VYSTRAL. Ah! Before he can recover, a figure darts in from the side, drives a raw punch into VYSTRAL's jaw. The blow lands with a hard, human certainty. For a heartbeat, the chaos rearranges. Emsky and the true Super A find their backs together, a small island of resolve, amid millions of A duplicates swirling like living snow. They brace, breath synced, confidence quiet but absolute. Super A, you fight good for someone who can't teleport. Emsky, you multiply good for someone who's, new? Their banter is a blade against the noise. VYSTRAL crawls up through the wreckage, broken, furious, a body held together by jagged lightning. His frame flickers with unstable energy. VYSTRAL, 2 against 1? Fine. Then I stop holding back. Reality splinters. VYSTRAL detonates into a storm of fractured being. Jagged distortions tear the air like knives. The A duplicates coil into defensive patterns. Dozens of Super A faces set like shields. Emsky tightens his grip on the spear until knuckles whiten. 3 figures stand amid the ruin. One world already rent. No rules remain. Caption: Emsky, Super A. Let's finish this. Super A, gladly. VYSTRAL, come then and die together.